The placement of Saturn in the sixth house of a natal chart is a profound indicator of a soul's commitment to the altar of the everyday. In astrology, Saturn represents the great taskmaster, the planet of boundaries, discipline, karmic lessons, and endurance. When it resides in the sixth house, the traditional domain of health, routine, service, and daily labor, the individual's life journey becomes a rigorous apprenticeship in mastery over the material world. The weight of the daily grind. For those with Saturn in the sixth house, life rarely feels like a series of effortless occurrences. Instead, there is an innate sense that survival and success must be earned through meticulous effort. These individuals often feel a heavy burden of responsibility regarding their daily chores and professional obligations. While others might breeze through a workweek with a good enough attitude, the Saturnian sixth house individual is haunted by the specter of perfectionism. This placement often manifests as a workaholic tendency, not necessarily out of a desire for fame, which is more the domain of the 10th house, but out of a deep-seated fear of being perceived as useless or inefficient. There is a profound need to be a cog in the machine that functions with absolute precision. The body is a testing ground. The sixth house governs the physical body and its maintenance. With Saturn here, the relationship with health is rarely casual. There is often a heightened sensitivity to bodily functions, which can manifest as hypochondria or, conversely, a stoic endurance of physical discomfort. Saturn's influence here frequently points toward crystallization issues, problems involving the bones, teeth, skin, or joints. However, the true lesson is often about the connection between the mind and the body. These individuals may find that their health is directly tied to their level of professional satisfaction. When they feel unproductive, they may literally become ill. The path to wellness for them involves strict discipline, structured diets, regular exercise, and the understanding that the body is a temple that requires a long-term maintenance plan rather than a quick fix. Service and mastery in the workplace. In the realm of employment, Saturn in the sixth house individuals are the backbone of any organization. They are the ones who stay late to ensure the spreadsheets are flawless and the doors are locked. However, this reliability can be a double-edged sword. They often feel underappreciated or burdened by the incompetence of others, leading to a "if you want it done right, do-it-yourself" mentality. Early in life, these individuals may face significant delays or hardships in their career path. They might work in subordinate positions longer than they feel they deserve, or they may encounter boss figures who are particularly demanding or restrictive. This is Saturn's way of teaching craft. By the time these individuals reach their Saturn return, around age 29, they have usually acquired a level of technical skill and work ethic that far surpasses their peers. They don't just hold jobs, they master disciplines. The shadow side, anxiety and micromanagement. The shadow of this placement is a paralyzing fear of chaos. Because the sixth house is where we categorize and organize our lives, Saturn here can create an obsession with order. This can lead to crippling anxiety when things go off script. There is a tendency to micromanage one's environment and the people within it to mitigate the internal feeling of inadequacy. The individual may struggle with feelings of not doing enough, even when they are doing more than everyone else. This inner critic is relentless, measuring their worth by their output. Learning to separate their human value from their productivity is perhaps the greatest psychological challenge of this placement. The gift of the alchemist. Despite its reputation for hardship, Saturn in the sixth house offers a magnificent reward, the ability to turn the mundane into the sacred. This placement produces people who understand that greatness is not found in a single leap of faith, but in the thousands of small, disciplined steps taken every day. As they mature, these individuals become the ultimate mentors. They possess a grounded, practical wisdom that can only be gained through years of trial and error. They learn that true service is not about slavery to a clock or a company, but about the integrity of one's contribution to the world. Ultimately, Saturn in the sixth house is a call to find dignity in the details. It transforms the drudgery of life into a ritual of excellence. When the individual finally learns to balance their high standards with a measure of self-compassion, they become an unstoppable force of practical manifestation, capable of building structures, both in their bodies and their careers, that can withstand the test of time. The zodiac sign occupying this house filter the way you approach your duties, health, and sense of order. Saturn's influence is always cooling and restrictive, but its expression changes significantly depending on the elemental and modal quality of the sign it inhabits. Saturn in the fire signs, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius. In fire signs, Saturn acts like a dampener on a flame, creating a restless tension between the urge to act and the need for caution. Aries, there is a heavy frustration regarding the pace of work. You may feel a stop-and-go energy where you want to lead or finish tasks instantly, but Saturn forces you to deal with tedious details. Headaches or dental issues can be the body's way of signaling bottled-up impatience. Leo, work is tied deeply to your ego and pride. You feel a heavy responsibility to be the best or to maintain a creative standard that is often exhausting. The lesson here is learning to serve without needing constant applause or being the center of attention. Sagittarius, you take your belief systems and ethics very seriously in the workplace. There can be a moral perfectionism here, where you feel burdened by the quest for truth in daily life. You might find routine stifling and must learn to find freedom within the structure of a schedule. Saturn in the earth signs, Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn. Saturn is at home in the earth element, making this placement exceptionally potent but also potentially rigid. Taurus, you are the builder of the zodiac. You value physical results and financial security through hard labor. There may be a tendency to overwork for the sake of material stability, or a stubbornness regarding your daily habits that makes it hard to adapt to change. Virgo, this is a double dose of precision. Saturn in the house of Virgo, the natural ruler of the sixth, creates a master of details. However, the risk of analysis paralysis is high. You may become so obsessed with the minutiae of health or work that you lose sight of the bigger picture. Capricorn, efficiency is your religion. You likely treat your health and your chores with the seriousness of a corporate merger. You are highly capable of managing others, but you must be careful not to treat your own body like a machine that never needs a break. Saturn in the air signs, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius. Here, Saturn's discipline is applied to the mind, communication, and social structures within the environment. Gemini, your to-do list is likely mental and overwhelming. Saturn here demands focus, otherwise, nervous energy can lead to physical exhaustion. You may feel a heavy responsibility to be factually accurate or intellectually useful in your job. Libra, relationships in the workplace are the primary focus. You may feel burdened by the need to maintain fairness or harmony among colleagues. You might end up doing the work of two people just to keep the peace, learning the hard way how to set boundaries with coworkers. Aquarius, you seek to bring order to chaotic systems or social causes. Your work often involves technology, science, or humanitarian efforts. You may feel like an outsider in traditional work environments, needing a structured way to express your unconventional ideas. Saturn in the water signs, Cancer, Scorpio, Pisces. In water signs, Saturn attempts to provide a container for emotions, which can lead to a somatization of feelings, where emotional stress turns into physical symptoms. Cancer, you feel a parental responsibility toward your coworkers or those you serve. There is a deep need for emotional security in your routine. If your work environment feels cold or unstable, it can directly impact your digestive system or overall vitality. Scorpio, this is a placement of intense investigative power. You aren't afraid of the dirty work or the secrets of the workplace. However, you may struggle with power dynamics or a tendency to obsess over workplace politics. Healing for you involves deep, transformative physical practices. Pisces, this is one of the more challenging placements, as the boundaries of Saturn clash with the boundaryless nature of Pisces. You may feel a vague sense of guilt or a savior complex regarding your work. The lesson is to find a grounded, practical way to express your spirituality through service without getting lost in the fog. Saturn transits your natal 6th house. This is a period that typically lasts about 2.5 to 3 years, and its primary objective is a complete overhaul of your systems, your habits, and your relationship with your physical vessel. During this transit, the fun of the previous few years often hits a wall of reality. Saturn acts as a cosmic auditor, looking at your schedule and asking, is this sustainable? If you have been coasting on luck or neglecting the boring details of life, this transit will bring those oversights to the surface. You may find that your workload increases significantly. It is not uncommon to feel like you are being buried under a mountain of chores, paperwork, or grunt work. However, the purpose isn't just to make you suffer, it is to force you to become more efficient. You are being pushed to find the minimum effective dose for your efforts. By the end of this transit, you will likely have trimmed the fat from your daily routine, leaving behind only what is essential and productive. The body speaks. The sixth house is the house of health, and Saturn's transit here often brings a physical reality check. If you have been ignoring your diet, sleep, or posture, the body may begin to voice its complaints through chronic fatigue, minor but persistent ailments, or issues with the teeth, bones, and joints. For many, this is the time when they finally commit to a disciplined health regimen, not because they want to look good for a vacation, but because they realize they must in order to keep functioning. It is an excellent time for long-term health overhauls, starting a serious strength training program, undergoing a dental reconstruction, or finally addressing a food sensitivity. Saturn rewards the slow, steady approach to wellness rather than the crash diet. Redefining service and employment. In your professional life, this transit often brings a sense of being under the thumb of a demanding supervisor or a restrictive corporate culture. You may feel like a servant rather than a leader. This is a test of humility and craft. Saturn is asking you to master the technical aspects of your job so thoroughly that you become indispensable. It is also a period where you may decide to change careers, not out of a sudden whim, but because you realize your current path offers no room for mastery. If you are in a toxic work environment, the pressure during this transit may become so heavy that you are forced to leave and find a place where your labor is respected and structured. From chaos to clockwork. Psychologically, a sixth house Saturn transit can feel quite heavy. There is a risk of falling into worry loops or feeling a sense of impending doom regarding your responsibilities. You may struggle with the feeling that you are getting nowhere, as Saturn moves slowly and its rewards are delayed. The secret to navigating this transit is to lean into the discipline. When you stop resisting the routine and start embracing the ritual of work, the weight begins to lift. You are learning that freedom isn't the absence of structure, but the ability to create a structure that supports your life. When Saturn finally crosses into your seventh house at the end of this transit, you will emerge with a body that is stronger, a mind that is more focused, and a daily life that finally runs like a well-oiled machine.